never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, howdy, folks. How are you? How are you? How are you? Just remembered I've got to send myself some photos that I was sent today so that I can show them to you. Many great things happening. I hope you have had a wonderful weekend. Pardon me not looking at you while I'm talking. I'm trying to save the right photos so I can show you what's going on. There's been a few weather changes in our country just the last couple of days, and I thought we might try and highlight one or two of those for you, and it's difficult to do that without saving the bloody things and then sending them off the mobile phone to myself and getting them all installed. So give me just but one moment while I tap these things and send them off. You can see how well prepared I am. I've had a bit of a day today where I've been running around left and right. And because you probably only just got a notification that there was going to be a show, that's probably because I only just got in here to make it. So here we are. Hope you've had a lovely time. Yep, the weather is gone mad. I see Sandy, might change my glasses. I see Sandy is saying that they are still getting rain, or rain is back again. I was talking to Sandy this morning briefly, and she was saying then that some of the areas were starting to dry out a bit in her part of the world, but by and large still bloody wet. So not much could be done. Food is the biggest problem, and not for her, but only got a couple of days left for the animals, and the man who generally supplies that is currently flying food, like bales of hay, in because he can't get to certain areas, and he delivers to a lot of people. I'm not sure if he's flying him into Sandy and Baz's property, but the Donkey Sanctuary, well, keep them in your thoughts at the moment too. And it sounds like I'm getting a few of my... good, right, hang on. Let me just save all these, and I'll start bringing them in to show you some of the weird weather that's going on around the place. Gotta say, South Australia, well, what's that? Yeah, right, oh good, save that. Oh, God, I hate these bloody machines sometimes. They just drive me nuts. Yeah, good, great. We're done. Close, cancel. Right, now I'll try and suck all this stuff in. Problems of being late. I apologize for all this, folks. You're seeing me work here behind the scenes. Stuff that I normally do during the day. Frig. Downloaded one of them by the look of it. I'm a little disappointed. Let me show you. After all that effort, this is all I can show you of South Australia at the moment. But Wayne from Wilmo points out that it is blowing a gale at the moment. I'm going to try and get that a few more of those images saved. Save all attachments. Okay. Into that. Okay. Yes. Oh, maybe they're in a file format. I can't show you those other ones. That'll be what it is. I'm going to need to go and all files. Yeah, they're there. No, I can't show you those ones, unfortunately. So this is the best one I can show you from South Australia. This comes from Pete from Pinaroo. And I don't know if the wind blew down his shed. It certainly, there is a lot of wind in South Australia at the moment. That's a sand or a dust storm. And the whole of South Australia is expecting a large amount of rain. In fact, it is starting to come in. But as Wayne from Wilmo has pointed out in the chat, it is blowing a gale. And when I was talking to Vince earlier today, he won't be joining us tonight. He's on a meeting of himself tonight. But he was saying that the conditions that South Australia are going to experience over the next 24, 36 hours or so are almost cyclonic. So for those of you in South Australia, hang on to your topsoil. Don't know how you do that. And be safe. Stay away from gum trees. That'd be my advice. But it appears there's also going to be a bit of rain in this too, quite a bit of rain. I hope that truly does eventuate because God knows you need it. But by the looks of the dust storm that certainly passed through the east of South Australia around Pete's Place, I gather that was today, then a lot of that topsoil is now in Victoria and moving its way slowly east. So hopefully that hasn't decimated the area too badly. No point in having a whole heap of rain if everything you've planted has been blown away in the wind that came before it. So my thoughts are with everybody who's on the land out there and dealing with stuff at the moment. Crunch, let's have a look at this. Did I hear that machetes are being banned in Victoria? A lot more acids in the state. Well, I'll be honest and say I'm not surprised. I thought machetes were banned in Victoria already after a great number of machete issues that Victoria have been having. I'm pretty confident they're banned in Queensland. I might be overstating that a little bit, but yeah, maybe not. Let me go back up into the top of the chat and just see who was in first up tonight because you were right on it. On red alert, right on it. Wayno from Wilmo straight in after that. So you boys must have been hovering around. The lovely Michelle Bradley Smith and Lydia. Also Paul, Andrew. What that? You are the legend. Sandy, God love you, woman. Donna, Spazza. I did say on red alert there's some way. The Sabinator, who likes to come in with a boom, alakabam, and a ree now and again, I like to see. Ads, I hope you're doing all right. I'm just looking for questions that any of you have fired up here too. So, yes, if you haven't watched Tim's Rumble, please go and do so. Tim's Truth is the Rumble channel, all one word, Tim's Truth. And he has a 16-minute video, I think, where it's worth watching. But we'll talk more about Tim and what he's going to present. Well, I don't know the ins and outs exactly of what he's going to present, but it's all happening on Wednesday night. And there has been a phenomenal amount of interest since the show on Friday. Nice to have you in, Clayton. Silver Fox, Cunning Linguist. Is that what it says? The lovely Sunflower is in the room. We're going to touch on, in fact, I'm going to show that right now. Sunflower sent me a beautiful image that she found over the weekend. This is the UK National COVID Memorial Wall. Now, we did a little bit of investigation, and this wall has some, I think, from memory, I didn't load up the other picture that had all the things on it, but some 280,000 people listed as dead from COVID, unfortunately. I sort of started to think it was a bit like Our Forest of the Fallen, but Our Forest of the Fallen is a bit more awake than what this appears to be. But it is in London. It's right along a small portion of the Thames. It's very pretty. So it's not to say that we're not the only ones out there doing this stuff. It's just that that one might be being commemorated in a little weirder way. Although I'd read a couple of articles about it, and there was a sort of 60-40 their way versus us. But there certainly was some mention of jab injury, I guess is the only way I can say that and get away with it. Yeah, but thank you, Sunflower, for sending that through, and a few other bits and pieces, which I thought was lovely and very, very useful. G'day, Ian. Hope you had a good weekend too. Can't see 100 meters for the dust storms. Geez, Wayne, that's not pleasant. And I guess once the dust is gone, I mean, do you just get West Australia's dust as it comes over the border, or how does that work? We just shuffle dust around this country? It's a bit weird. Closing highways, says Wayno. Yeah, no, wow, that's wild. Yes, they are seeding not just the Sunshine Coast. They did the Goldie today as well, and they did it early. I was out of bed this morning at 5:15, and I walked out just as the sun was sort of coming up, and you could see the blue starting to materialize in the sky, and one of those bastards had already been through it, heading south. So it looked like the spray, and this, I've got to be honest, we haven't seen the blue sky here, except for this week, for maybe 3 weeks. So God knows what they were spraying above us. But certainly the high level winds today were blowing southeast. And the way that these weather modification things work is that they drop certain ingredients into certain parts of the wind stream, blow it down, create a bellows effect by wedging it between maybe a low pressure system or a high pressure system that's been created further south. And then particularly when it comes to the rain, it'll be a low system, and they pump in huge amounts of energy into it. And of course, the poor folks on the mid coast of New South Wales at the moment are feeling the full brunt of it. So my thoughts are with all of you who are dealing with that. And if anybody can find out what happened to that truckie who woke up in Taree with water up to the gunnels, I'd be very keen to learn out more. Okay, completely flooded. Oh, wow. All 500 of Haker's hay growing land is underwater. Wow. Feed for the donkey is extremely limited now. Wow. Well, I don't know what we can do to help there. You might recall a little while ago, through Tim, we wound up speaking with that crew that roll their trucks around the country delivering hay for a price, a very good price, to people who need it around the countryside. Now, we've since heard back from that particular organisation in that it doesn't want to deal with the Voice of Freedom. It doesn't want to deal with me because they get all their information from the ABC, and I'm more or less quoting them now. No, we will get all our publicity, all our promotion, and all our help from the ABC. They do not want our help. They do not want, mind you, they were very happy to take the $10,000 that you all donated that night. They were very happy to take that. Didn't get a thank you much from them, got to be honest. But they took it. So, a bit disappointed in that mob, if I'm honest. And I hope Sandy obviously gets her guy back up and running. And, well, I don't know how fast you can grow hay. Or if it'll dry out. Was it any good after? I don't think it's much good after it's been underwater, is it? So I'd be very surprised. Wow, yeah, that's certainly cyclonic winds, Wayno, and 90 to 110 knots. That's pretty full on. I was speaking to people in Victoria today as well. They're saying just how dry it is there. Very, very bad. Well, all through the southern part of Victoria, southern part of Australia. And we all know the reasons why they are doing this. Weather modification has been around for many, many, many years. And in fact, you can go back to Vietnam, where I think it was Operation Popcorn or Popeye, maybe, where weather modification was used to try and drown the North Vietnamese army. It was, not a pleasant time. They've used this technology, and when I say they, we're talking about the evil cabal bastards. They have used this technology to break nations, to induce droughts, to keep Africa dry, for instance. they have been able to conduct their weather experiments in pretty much absolute secrecy while having it all in plain sight. If any one of us cared to read the legislation that we signed up to with the UN and associated others at various different times over the last 80 years. It's pretty disappointing. And sometimes very difficult for others to swallow. Contrails, smoke coming out of an engine, all that sort of bullshit. No, they are definitely back spraying with a vengeance. And I'm not going to hear we're being sprayed with good stuff anymore. You know, the good stuff is, if we've been sprayed with the good stuff, we'd be seeing hangings on our televisions. We'd be having trials, public trials, for those that have committed these acts against us. Clayton, yes, for those of you who've been on my Facebook page, you would have seen this. Having said that, let me see if I can bring that up off my Facebook page. I'm going to figure out how to drive my Facebook page. And I might be able to play it for you. Give me but a moment. Christofouli, David, I think his name is Christofouli. I've got to be honest, I haven't paid that much attention to who this guy actually is. But let me just pause that for a moment and come back here. Move that over there so we can see it. Strange noises and sounds. Where the hell's that coming from? I was trying to avoid that. Are you hearing that? That's ridiculous. Found it. Right. Now, let me see if I can share a screen with you. And I think this is pretty much what Clayton is referring to. This bit.
To the United Nations. You don't control me, and I don't answer to you. I answer to Queenslanders. I answer to a whole heap of those people back there who've had their lives turned apart. And I say to the United Nations, we make laws to deal with one of the biggest issues this state has ever faced. And it's a generation of repeat hardcore young offenders who were created by weaker laws. So I say to the United Nations, you focus on the things you control, and I'll look after the things that I control. And I'm accountable to Queenslanders, not to the United Nations. Here's my message to.
So yeah, I think he shut him up now. I think he said it pretty bloody well. As I said in my post when I put that up on Facebook, I see a small pair of testicles. I wonder if they're going to grow. I wonder if he can nurture them and grow them into a real set. But he seems to have the right idea. And as Sunflower says, exiting the UN is exactly the right way. So to be telling them to keep their nose out of Queensland law or legislation, as much as I hate saying the word, is probably a good thing. This was on the back of the UN upping themselves and trying to inject themselves into the what is a severe youth crime crisis that's happening in Queensland and has been happening in Queensland for the last 4 or 5 years. Now, Christofouli was elected. They got rid of the Labor government based in great part, on this guy's stance about changing legislation within the first 100 days of being in office to reflect similar public concerns about lack of decent sentencing for these little criminals who seem to be coming up and into court, being processed straight back out the front door again, and then winding back up in the court there a little while later. Christofouli has, I think, now instigated, and it may well have been passed, that some of these juvenile offenders, depending on the gravity of their crime, and we've had some very, very serious car and weapons crimes committed by juveniles, they will now be charged and treated and jailed under adult rules, adult laws. That doesn't mean that they will go to an adult jail if they're 14 years old, but it will mean that they are treated as an adult for the purposes of their trial, and all of their previous convictions and whatnot will be eligible and expected to be used when considering further sentencing. So let's see what happens. If Christopher Foley can grow that set of testicles, who knows? He might get a second go at the cherry when the next election comes around, if you're that way inclined. Hopefully by the time the next election comes around, there won't be any need for a next election. Or if it is, it'll be to get rid of all the bastards that have been doing this evil shit to us for years, and we move on. Good news. It's all back on. Now, I told you the other day that the Gilmore Space rocket, somebody popped a cone and the whole top of the rocket, well, not the whole top of the rocket, but a certain portion of the top of the rocket popped off, and it couldn't take off that day. Space travel is hard, I imagine, if you believe space. However, getting a rocket to launch is also extremely hard, and regardless what it's going to hit or not going to hit, we would like to see it launch, because this is coming out of Bowen in North Queensland. And I've got to be honest, a spaceport, whether you believe in space or not, is a novel and very, very interesting tourism attraction that I'm sure Bowen, aside from the big mango, could use. It would also mean a fair bit for people in surrounding areas, because when these things launch, you know, they're not just, you don't stand 2 kilometers away from these things when they launch. You might stand 20 kilometers away. And you can tell that with NASA and watching, or not NASA, SpaceX, and watching their transfer vehicles, launch vehicles return to Earth. You know, you see the fire come out, the slow down burn to slow the thing down, and the thing's basically on the ground before you hear the sonic boom or booms, and before you hear the engines fire up, the thing's already landed. That's because you are so far away, or the camera is so far away from the landing zone. So this means that the tourism potential for the area is absolutely huge from Mackay to Townsville, because that'll be about where you'll be able to see this launch from, if not further afield. They are firing out straight out, well, not straight out, but straight up and generally over the Pacific Ocean. I'm really interested in where the smoke goes. I know it sounds stupid, but I have a hard time with the arcing. Every rocket that's been launched, every space shuttle, everything that's been launched goes up and then tends to loop and follow the curve over the horizon. Or are they just following the dome so they don't hit it? I don't know. A lot of questions there to be asked. Pardon me, I don't claim to have any of the answers. I just got a lot of bloody questions. AOC is in trouble. New York State judge has ordered Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez to surrender all her tax returns and financial statements for the past 7 years. It seems she's suspected of insider trading, hiding funds offshore to evade paying tax. She could face up to 5 years in jail for that. Well, I got a sneaking suspicion when they find out what else she's been involved in, she'll be spending a lot more time in jail, at least until the end of the trial, at which point they'll probably just march her out and hang her. Because I think she'll be a hanging. I would have a go. People have talked about, oh, no, look, I won't do that one just yet. I'll move that one down and I'll do something else. I'll do this first. These are some interesting images that have come from a website I've been very keenly following for some years. This is a channel that follows the sun quite in depth. And the images that you are seeing, particularly the top right image, all depict a cube, a massive cube-like thing coming out of the sun. I'm. It, it's everything I can do not to say we are the Borg, but there is, and that'll mean something to Star Trekkies or Next Generation fans. So this is a couple of days old now, but we were talking with Alex last week about strange images that seem to come from the sun. And I mentioned then that I'm getting a filter for the P1000 camera, which will allow me to point it at the sun on beautiful sunny days and take photos. I'm really looking forward to what it shows. I have seen some of the images or some images taken of the sun through the P1000 already. And you know what? It doesn't look anything like the images NASA would tell you that you're seeing. Nothing like it. But there might be a reason for that. I don't know. But when I take those photos, when that filter turns up and I take that photo, then you'll be the first to see it. Have absolutely no doubt. I think there is so much interesting stuff hiding in the sun. I think there's so much stuff hiding full stop. The sun 93 million, no, hundreds of miles away, millions of miles away. I think isn't the moon 93 million miles away? I could be wrong. At any rate, they're the same size. That's the interesting thing. It's weird. A little bit of a science segment for you now. This is a new engine that appears, at least according to Yup, It Exists, and I have been trying to seek further confirmation for this. I get the feeling this is an AI-generated piece of shit that is being pushed around. But it says here, Australian scientists claims they have made an engine that is powered only by light. No fuel, no emissions. I got a small tip for you. The next story will be small number of Australian scientists have been found dead, suicided. They stabbed themselves in the back 47 times. If that is actually real, because that's never going to be allowed to come out at the moment because there is too many interests blocking it. But there's more science. Here's another good one from the same place. This, on the other hand, doesn't necessarily sound too far-fetched. New device can turn moonlight into power at a rate 35% faster than solar panels. Now, that looks like a giant glass ball to me, but I don't know. Once again, haven't been able to find anything out that actually confirms any of this, but AI is generating a lot of bullshit news. And I think, we've talked about discernment so often. It's probably more important now than ever that we hone our discernment skills because of things like that. For all the money, that looks like it's, a story somebody would take in. They might think, oh, yeah, right. But they'll take it in and believe it until they see the truth pointed out somewhere. And I guess this is what clickbait is, meant for. These people who generate this sort of shit, I don't know if they make an income out of it. Why would you do it if you didn't get money out of it somewhere somehow? Or do they do it just to piss people off? I don't know. But AI is generating massive amounts of content at the moment, and it's coming out in various different platforms. I've seen a lot of it on TikTok, a lot of it on YouTube, and a lot of it, especially in Facebook. My feed is so corrupted in Facebook that I basically only get ads and targeted shit. I don't see, if you're a friend on my list, I don't see anything from you. And you probably don't see anything from me. That's how suppressed Facebook is. We were talking the other night about the suppression that YouTube has placed on this channel. And please like and subscribe. We're trying to get to that next magical number. And we are, oh God, we've only been pushing it now. I think Vince said they froze our subscriber number for 3 years. It didn't go up. It didn't go down. It just stayed exactly the same for 3 years. And then we were allowed to get 1 or 2, and then one or two dropped off, and then we get one or two more, and one or two more drop off. So, but over the last month or so, things have changed there a little bit, and we've got a lot more people subscribing. And it doesn't mean much to you folks if you can turn the notifications off if you never want to watch the show again. But we are trying to beat the algorithm that keeps this and many others from being seen. The suppression algorithm that those that run, own, and program YouTube will be held accountable for if any of us have anything to say about it. I wanted to give you all a flashback memory. If you have kids or grandkids today, get your phone out, because you're going to want to take a screenshot of whatever you're watching this on, okay? If you have kids or grandkids today that are unemployed and they've got to deal with whatever that mob is called that you've got to deal with when you're unemployed these days, Centrelink? Is that what they're called these days? I don't know. I refuse to deal with them and refuse to know anything about them, and I don't play in their world, and please God, they won't come and play in mine, because that'd be a fight none of us would enjoy. But if you've got those sort of folks who are dealing with having to find a job in the current system and all the hoops that you've got to jump through and yada, 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 there is a better way. Who remembers these days? Now, I'm going to have a guess and say that's sort of early 80s, but that is exactly how people used to find jobs. There was a CES, Commonwealth Employment Service, not quite in every town, but certainly in every reasonable sized town. And on there, or in there, you would find these boards, and these boards would have headings over them sometimes and sometimes not, for different fields of endeavor. Or they would just be full up with handwritten job cards like what this young fella's looking at. And he's writing down some details about the job so he can go over to someone at the office and ask if he can apply for it. That's how you used to get a job. And it was very bloody effective. You didn't have to go and do a course. You didn't have to go and do another course to find out whether or not you're actually suitable to do a course. If you did go and do that course to find out if you were suitable to do the course, and on that course they found out that the course you have to go and do is a supplemental course because you need more help to get through the course, of course. And anyway, it gets a bit confusing. In the end of the day, you give up and fuck off. So I would hope that that'll give you a bit of a giggle and a throwback to yesteryear, because it certainly has been a long way, a long time coming. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. I'm reading things, and my brain is reading things, and some's coming out of my mouth. It certainly used to be a good old way of doing things. Not that I was fortunate enough to ever have to go and do too much of that. I was lucky to be pretty much involved in radio from 18 onwards. So, yeah, it was wild. That's how you end up joining the RAF. Thank you for your service, Michelle. Couldn't get far away from the base, I see. Funny story. I used to do, in my course of my radio show, we would have the local CES would send us in the Army, Navy, and the Air Force recruiters whenever they came to town. And they came to town once a month or so that people could go in and have a bit of a discussion about joining one of the armed forces. And those three blokes, or one of them, would come in and do a little radio spot with me, and we'd promote that they were in town and go to the CES and see them. I've always had an affiliation with the Navy. It turns out I also have an affiliation with the Army, and a great desire with the Air Force. But I used to get along with these guys very, very, very well. And being, soldiers, sailors, and airmen on the road, they had a per diem. That meant the government was paying. And so they would inevitably invite us out for dinner after, at the end of the day, where we would go to a local pub and proceed to decimate just about everything behind the bar with them. We had some very, very, very cool sessions, drinking idea sessions, I should call them, where we pitched different things to them about how they could better entice people to join the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. And the Air Force were a bit stiff, I'll be honest. They didn't come on board with the idea much. But the Army and the Navy certainly did. We pitched the idea that they'd take a Leopard tank out of Puckapunyal and put it on a truck and drag it around Victoria and wherever else they go, and get people to see what a real tank was like. I was fortunate that I had been to Puckapunyal and seen a real tank by that stage, and I knew that people would be interested in them. So we threw that and another idea for the Navy and a few others around that night. And bugger me dead, a couple of months later, we get a phone call. I'd moved to a different... for the tank, I was still at 3AJ in Hamilton. And they ring us and they said, oh, yeah, we're bringing a tank. I got to drive that tank up the main street of Hamilton. The Navy guy, that was a very successful, I think they called it Leopard on the Prowl, not on parade, or might have been Leopard on parade. And they sent it all over Victoria and I think New South Wales and parts of South Australia. Very successful, very successful. Then the Navy decided to give it a go, and it's a bit hard to put a Navy ship on a trailer and drag it around the countryside. So they did the next best thing. They got a Mark II torpedo and put that on a trailer. It was only a dummy, not a real one, but put that on a trailer, a very, very long trailer, and dragged that around Victoria and New South Wales and southeast South Australia for a couple of weeks, inspiring people on that. And you've got, I'm sure, many of you, if you don't have one yourself, will have access to someone who took a photo straddling that torpedo. A lot of boys seem to like doing that for whatever reason. Sadly, there was a bit of an issue as it was travelling back to Nowra, I think, is where it was heading to, along the Hume Highway. The Navy chief petty officer that was driving the vehicle at the time had a bit of a conniption and went off the road and caused quite a stink, because the police calls that came out when the public started reporting that there was a torpedo on the side of the Hume Highway were something to behold. Don't know that he ever lived it down, to be honest. I never heard from him again. He may have been thrown out of the Navy. But yeah, Air Force, I was just very lucky. I got to participate in flying in just about everything you can think of that is worth flying in the Royal Australian Air Force. I've been very lucky in that regard, including fighter jets. So one day I'll tell you the story about my F-111 flight, which made me sick, but probably not for the reasons you're thinking of. Should be a bit of fun. So this has turned into a bit of a bloody chat session tonight, hasn't it? I do apologise. I probably had a little bit more news for you, and we're getting on. Yes, please like and share, folks. Please like and share. That's, yeah. 20 Energex workers yesterday, and I guess half of them were sitting down. Well, maybe there was a blown, what do they call them? Transformer. And I put a bit of copper wire in, a few spiky bits on your roof. I think that could work. I've got to say, you do remember that, do you, Michelle? That's great. I'm sure that a lot of people in Victoria will remember it. It was a really big thing. And that was an idea come up between myself, a bloke called Graham Sawyer, and the Army, Navy, Air Force recruiters over a shitload of beers in what used to be the George Hotel in Hamilton. So had a lot of great times. And I was very fortunate through my experience with recruiting. It didn't just end there. I wound up doing quite a lot for Army, Navy, Air Force. In fact, our radio network used to do a yearly broadcast. We used to call it the Tri-Service Seminar, I think, where instead of dragging torpedoes and tanks around, they decided they would take all the CES and careers teachers out of their work in the school space and plonk them in the Army, Navy, or the Air Force for a week. And I was very fortunate to do all of those. I spent a week at Pucker. In fact, I've spent numerous weeks at Pucker doing various different things. But Pucker, spent a week at Cerberus doing a lot of great things. And I've spent a bit of time at Amberley and a few other RAFI bases doing things there too. So I've been very fortunate. I've been allowed to do more than most people who get into any branch of the service ever get to do. I've done all the really cool things, shot all the guns, jumped out of the aircraft. Well, when I say jumped out of the aircraft, I abseiled out of a Iroquois helicopter. I'm not stupid enough to parachute out of a good, perfectly working aeroplane, but yeah, the Iroquois, abseiling out of that was a bit of fun. Been in a submarine, been in all sorts of different things. I've been very, very fortunate to have the experiences that I've had, and all given to me basically through radio, and the fact that I was able to do a breakfast show and convince people that it mightn't be a bad thing to do. So I feel quite blessed for the knowledge that has given me, not just in how the military worked, at least, you know, back in those days. Things have changed and moved on since then, I'm sure. It also brought home to me that I have joined the Navy, like I was hell-bent on doing, it probably wouldn't have worked out for either of us. I may have come out of it, as many have who went in during the 80s, I may have come out of it suffering from serious abuse, and then suffering PTSD and many of the other things that go hand in hand with abuse that's suffered at the hands of the people you trust. And it doesn't just happen in the Navy. It happens in all our forces, and happened a lot in the 80s. I personally know two guys who were just a little bit older than me and got into the Navy ahead of me, put it that way. And both of them suffered tremendously, and probably still suffer today. So I was, I guess, looked after by God in that he kept me out of the military service, but I got to do so much inside it, learn so much about it, and developed a lifelong interest, and I've kept friends through it, people who are still active today. I'm very fortunate in that regard. So, and hello to you all if you are watching. Not that I think too many of those folks watch me these days, just between you, me, and the gatepost. They would if they knew that their silver was going up higher than, or faster than ever before in at least our history with it in the last few years. At the moment, according to Ainsley Bullion, it's at $51.27. It was up at nearly 52 today. It's gone back a little. Gold has dropped back a little bit too. The markets are doing some really weird things at the moment. We all know that the stock market is facing a huge amount of pressure. Donald Trump is announcing and then de-announcing or back walking or indeed stepping forward and re-upping certain and not to do with the tariffs. He's ratcheting up pressures on the money markets and on the stock market. That US dollar is under a huge amount of pressure, and regardless of what Trump is saying about we've got to protect the dollar, he's actually not. He's aiding the market chip away, and it is going to chip away to a point where it collapses, and God knows it couldn't come sooner. Can't come soon enough for me at any rate. And I'm sure you guys feel pretty much exactly the same way. Did I load up? No, I don't. I want to play you a speech which I've been meaning to play you now for, I think it's been sitting in here for 2 weeks. Now, this is a speech, I believe, given to either the European Parliament or the European Union. It may have been given to the British Parliament, but I'm not completely sure. The speaker is not identified, but she is a warrior, this lady, an absolute warrior. And I look forward to the day we have someone with balls enough to stand up in our Parliament. Oh, which, interestingly enough, must sit within 30 days of a general election. You understand? Now, Albo's not scheduled Parliament to sit for another 2 months. He's going to be off signing us up to God knows what. NATO light. I think we're already signed up to be peacekeepers. We'll be in a war in that part of the world within 6 months. All thanks to Anthony Albanese. All thanks to Anthony Albanese. We need people in our Parliament who stand up like this lady does.
Human rights attorney Lee Dundas. Some years ago, 2 men sat at a table discussing the most effective way to usher in war. Their decision after discussion was to close non-essential businesses and further quarantine certain members of society to prevent the spread of disease known as typhus. These men's names? Joseph Goebbels and Adolf Hitler. You think you're special. I am here to tell you you are not. You are the new Fourth Reich. And I have news for you today. We will not be locking down or taking funding over RSV, which 90% of children contract before the age of 2, and only 100 to 500 a year die, which is a 0.00000472813 death rate. It is 0.41 Let me add a little bit here. Your whole meeting today was unlawful under the the government sections. Our governor's executive order that allowed you to suspend notice of meeting was specific to COVID, and your agenda item is specific to respiratory syncytial virus. Therefore, under the government code, you are still bound to notice requirements. An emergency under the government code section is defined as crippling activity or other activity which severely impairs public health and safety. And let me tell you, folks, a 0.000047814% death rate is nowhere near an emergency. You will not get more blood money into this county. You will not get more state or federal funding for our hospitals. This is not an emergency. To do so is fraud. You will not mask us like she just talked about doing. You will not quarantine the well or the sick. You will not keep our kids out of school, and damn right you're not going to cripple our businesses anymore. Do you hear me? We will never lock down again. This is the hill we die on, because this is America. This is the Constitution of America, and this is frickin' freedom. Never again.
Frickin' freedom. I'm sorry, I said EU. I meant America. But yes. We need that kind of passion, that kind of power in our speakers, in our representatives. And of course, we're not going to get it because, we apparently are going to be controlled by a pissant party that didn't even get 26% of all available votes in this country. On top of that, this pissant minority bullshit government has now decided that it's not going to sit for at least 2 months. Now, under the Australian Constitution, the one they like to work for, or the one we like, it has to sit. The Parliament has to sit within 30 days. Who do we take this to? This is a clear violation, right? This annuls the election. You know, the election that, I don't know if you were able to see the election writ. I went and asked. Couldn't see it. Haven't even seen a copy of it being passed around this year. Who do we go to start really screaming about this farce? Well, maybe we go to Tim Dwyer. Now, Friday night, Tim came on and had a very, very interesting chat about what he is proposing. And he and I have been talking about this for some time. And I'm supposed Tim's been talking about it with many other people too. I've always had, as you know, I've said we all have to come together. We all have to throw these ideas on the table. We have to leave our egos at the door. We have to discuss these proposals that are being worked on by brilliant people all over this country. Brilliant people who have done, days, weeks, decades of research. Decades of research. And quite rightfully, they're all invested in their solution to get us out of the shit. Sadly, we've yet to find a solution to get any of us out of the shit. There might be the odd win using the odd system. But as soon as there is the odd win, it's patched up or hidden or unable to be spoken about, so that the win cannot generate popularity, cannot generate interest, cannot generate more people trying to win. But this is a flagrant violation of law that this new selected government, because it certainly wasn't elected by the majority of people in this country, this selected corporate belligerent occupying force that now controls our government has to be outed. Now, things that Tim was saying on Friday night, I thought sounded pretty good, particularly when it came to having some way to enforce the people's will, because it is quite clear that many police, many Army, Navy, and Air Force will only do what the government tells them to do. Now, I'm not sure what oath they take these days, and I'm not sure that there was ever a mention of the people in our military oaths. There is in America, but I don't know that there is in ours. And maybe Michelle or others who served and are watching the show can tell us, but I'd be interested in hearing of somebody who's gone in the last year to find out what oath they were given to repeat then. Because I get the feeling that oath will have changed from the oath that my biological father took when he went to Vietnam to the oath that Michelle took when she stood up for the RAF, and so many other of you. Didn't Trump purchase the Commonwealth of Australia? I did read that. Yes. I'm not sure. See, there was a thing a few years ago where the American Navy came to town unannounced. They drove in Sydney Heads and they pointed their guns at Government House in Kirribilli, and then sent a message to the Prime Minister and said, "You're captured." At which point he said, "Oh, okay." This is pre-Albo. So what would the point be of Trump buying the Commonwealth of Australia if he'd just taken it during his first term? Because that's when this happened, from memory. I don't know. There is some weird shit going on about all of that. And that's why Tim's meeting, I think, on Wednesday night will be very, very worthwhile attending and listening to. This isn't going to be a meeting, at least when I spoke to him the other day, it wasn't going to be a meeting where you'll get to interject and ask questions and try and tear down his ideas. This needs to be a meeting, as it would be for any of you who are watching this who have a solution and are brave enough to put it up to public inspection. Nobody is trying to tear down your idea and tear holes in it. Nobody's trying to embarrass you or say, "Oh, you got that wrong. Oh, you're so silly." That's not what it's about. I actually believe, out there amongst all these different groups that have been practicing common law, learning about common law, been looking at the Constitution, how the Constitution was stolen from us and the legalities around that. I believe we are closer than ever to regaining much of that knowledge. However, everybody has a piece. Nobody has all the pieces of the puzzle that is going to give we the people our freedom back. But if we all come to the table, if we all leave our egos at the door and we all present, as Tim is prepared to do, to present his solution, which may not be the solution, but on Wednesday night, he's now had to up his Zoom room to 1,000 people. I think he's had over 700 requests to join, to sit and watch him and present this idea. And then I think you'll be asked to go away, consider it. If you've got questions, write them down, email them in, by all means, or put them in the chat. But I don't think they'll be addressed on the night. I think they'll be addressed on a different night, a couple of days later maybe. And I think that's wise, because Tim needs to present like he's presenting to a lecture theatre, a university lecture theatre. Here's the lecture. You can ask questions at the end, or come back tomorrow when you've chewed it over and mulled it over a bit and ask your questions then. And that same respect would be afforded to anybody who wants to come forward and present their ideas. I'm disappointed to hear that Brian Shaw is arrogantly dismissive of this whole process. Brian clearly thinks he has the answer. I can be 100% honest with you and say, Brian, you're blowing air up your own arse if you think you are. You don't have the full answer. I think you've got many parts of the puzzle, but so do many others. And all of those puzzles are missing salient bits. We need to come together to find those salient bits. You may have bits of the puzzle that nobody else has, but you don't have the whole puzzle. And there are a number of people who have similar thoughts on this. They're protecting their puzzle. I don't understand why, at the end of the day, when now is the time to get people talking about constitutions, to make them aware of how constitutions work and who actually writes them. Now, going forward, those people who've come up with the foundations to what might be a new constitution for Australia will be remembered forever. Well, until the next cycle when everything's erased. But if that's important to you, rest assured, if you're part of that team that helps build that document that we the people vote for and empower, you will be remembered. It will be like the, American document of independence. It'll be that important. I don't know that the guys who signed that document in America battled with their egos as much as we seem to today. But then again, they didn't have as much attention on them, I suppose, as we do today. So I would hope, with great respect and humility, offer the opportunity for these people to, if they don't want to come and talk to Tim, come and talk to me. Or I would please ask humbly that they reconsider their position and come and listen to what Tim has to say, because we want to hear what you have to say as well. And we would love you to come and stand up and present what you believe is the solution and where we are currently being caught out with your solution, where they're stopping it in the courts or in their tracks. And I know they can do that just by saying, Buggy, I'm not going to deal with you, and walk away. We have to figure out how to fix that, don't we? And when we do fix it, it'll be we the people that vote it into reality. It won't be a small group of people sitting around a room bashing their egos and plumping their egos and getting all jolly about, oh, look what we've created. That might happen, but before it goes any further, it will have to go before the people. The people will question it. There will be hard questions. These people who create this document will need to have those answers to those hard questions, rather than just, waiting to be applauded and lauded. So fingers crossed, life, the universe, and everything going forward, we will see some pretty spectacular things over the coming weeks and months. But if you aren't already part of it, I would urge you to go and try and join Tim's Zoom for Wednesday night. I think it's happening at 9:30 p.m. Wednesday night, Eastern Standard Time. I think it's 9:30, might be 9. I'll have to check. No, pretty sure it's 9:30 on Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday night. And Tim at outraustralia.com is how you would register for it, if there are any seats left in there to register. Queensland, the 51st state. That'll be nice. Albo's just a puppet. Yes, he's over there dancing at the end of the string at the moment. Sandy, the bastard, enjoying his little luxury getaway on the Australian teat. God love him. Or shoot him. I know what I'd prefer. Let's just adopt the full American Constitution, no changes. Well, we'd all be down at the gun shop, wouldn't we? Because things would radically change in this country if we were all allowed to go back to the gun shop and buy a gun. Get a license without having to jump through 45,000 hoops. And then worry every day about, whether you're going to be able to keep your gun license because you got a speeding fine, or you talked back to an officer, asked him what his authority was. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not adverse to the whole idea of protecting yourself, and I was very much against the whole John Howard gun buyback thing here in Australia. And in fact, I lost a family heirloom shotgun out of it, a Harrington, an 1891 Harrington and Richardson single shot hammer shotgun. All through that. But somehow was left a shitty slug gun, which had lost all its oomph. Couldn't kill an ant with it, which sort of suited me because I'd lost interest in shooting and killing things a long time ago. Anyway, that's a story for another night. Look at that. I've rolled over time again, prattling away. Bullshit. My apologies. Tonight has been a bit rushed and a bit loose, folks. I got in late and probably wasn't as well organized as I would like to be. Tomorrow night, well, I've got some interesting things happening tomorrow. I might take some video of those interesting things that are happening, and we might share a little bit of a day in the life of Carl. How batshit bored do you want to be? Go and find something else to do tomorrow night. Catch up with Guru's show at 7 o'clock. If I look like I'm putting you to sleep by then. All right, love you, leave you, folks. Be safe on those roads, particularly if you are in the areas where it is persistently precipitating, or where the dust is so thick you can't see 100 meters in front of you. Wayno, I hope you are all right up there in Wilmington. And love you, brother. Look forward to seeing you soon.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!